I just had an amazing idea. Many Manai people want to collab with me, but since my personal clans and lore are special to me, what if every person created one OC and made our own community clan? Gasp face.
Wholeheartedly agree. Doing a slow head turn.
It would be special to our server. I think that would be so fun. It would be structured like every other clan vid I've done, just with credits to each person. I could make it to where their description / backstories and all assertion length, and I could read them off. It's the first group vid I'd be doing. I'm finally glad to announce, our server will be creating its own clan. The chosen 20 cats will be featured in my 10k special on YouTube. It will be similar to a clan generator video where I cover their name, description, personality, and backstory.
Alright, so if it wasn't already clear enough with that intro, I let everyone in my Discord server go completely ham, with a few rules of course, and create our very first community-made clan. With everyone's submissions, this lovely group of cats came together as CreationClan to face their destiny. Submissions were open for less than 2 weeks, and boy let me tell you, okay, so I thought I was only gonna get maybe 20 to 30 applications on this. Well, we got...
Oh no! Oh yeah!
And I completely underestimated everything about this process, but here we are, CreationClan! The rules were simple. 1, you have to submit your character through a designated Google form. 2, only 1 submission per person. 3, all roles will be chosen in a Raffle style, so it's randomized and everyone gets equal opportunity. 4, there will only be 20 slots. 5, don't steal other people's art, OCs, or ideas. 6, don't argue with others. 7, don't use a pre-existing character. 8, don't make your character completely buck wild, aka just don't make it a Mary Sue. 9, your character is subject to change along with the story. And 10, the 20 cats chosen will be featured on YouTube, which is this video. The first part of this video is going to show everybody's roles as we build the allegiances. We're doing this the spinny wheel style. Okay, so now that we have our allegiances, first we'll start off with the leader, Setting Star. Setting Star, previously known as Setting Sun, is a medium-furred red and orange she-cat with yellow eyes. Her name originates from her golden-hued fur that shines brightly like flames when resting in the sunlight. She was previously born to a group of rogues who functioned in a power-based structure. This structure was purely based on survival, claiming to be the sole survivors from the fabled clans from long ago. Cats bearing injuries or carrying litters were seen as weak and would be fed last, if at all. This group often got into scuffles with neighboring cats, and from a young age, Setting Sun knew this wasn't right. She desperately wanted to become leader of this group and run it far more civilly. Others would laugh at her suggestions and crush her spirits. When she was old enough, she set out on her own, thinking that she did not need the company of others to survive. The timing was bad and Leaf Bear took everything out of her, and she sheepishly returned with sunken cheeks and a defeated, pleading look in her eyes. They turned her down even after an offering of prey and loyalty, so she set out on her own once more to create a new group of cats on her own. She wandered for several days without rest, her paws seemingly being dragged in a certain direction until she came across a small ravine with water flowing through it. Even in the midst of Leaf Bear, this place was speckled with bright green and harbored a sweet smell. She felt at peace. Setting Sun succumbed to her exhaustion and collapsed, falling deep into sleep. She was gently jostled awake. In front of her stood a white, softly glowing cat, their apparition fading in and out in flashes. They merely whispered, "The lives of many generations rest in your paws." After this, Setting Sun felt a new sense of longing, finding a few other cats in similar situations who agreed to her proposition. They joined the group which formed CreationClan, a safe place for cats to gather and feel secure. Next up is the deputy, Deer Damsel. Deer Damsel is a short-furred, fluffy brown tabby she-cat with green eyes. She was originally just named Deer due to her fawn-like appearance and gentle nature. She was born into a rather unfortunate situation where their two legs had far too many cats and used them solely for profit, seeing the cats as more of objects than living creatures. She felt unnoticed and set aside from everyone else there, learning to be assertive and get her points across. In hopes of finding connection with another cat, she befriended a Tom who soon became her means of happiness. The two of them had several litters together, all of which were taken out from underneath her without warning. The only explanation she ever got was that this is just how things work down here. Everyone around her felt cold and heartless, and they would often tell her that things were easier as she got older. After all, they were given shelter, food, and water without worrying about living out on the streets. She felt that their spirits were shattered. She was utterly heartbroken, longing to see her beloved kits again one day. In a desperate attempt at escape, she squeezed through a slightly cracked window and made a run for it, leaving her old life behind. For Moon, she wandered around their neighborhood in search of any of her kits, and in the process stumbled across CreationClan. Her motherly nature, phenomenal sense of justice, and genuine care for the cats around her led her to receive the role of deputy in her new clan. Moving on to the clan's medicine cat, Ghost Hound is a pale gray and white she-cat with short fur and green eyes. Ghost Hound grew up simply as Ghost, a lone she-cat in the woods. Helping cats with illness and injury, she gained a reputation for being hospitable and impressively good at healing. Ghost didn't like the idea of a clan at first, but warms up to it as she gets validated for her skills, but not necessarily any of the cats there. Her name originated from her ghost-like appearance, not only in terms of looks, but also fleeting personality. It would sometimes seem as if they were there one moment and then gone the next. Some even saying that she was merely an apparition. Ghost Hound keeps to herself and isn't talkative by any means, but they are great at listening and watching their surroundings. Ghost Hound has trouble with expressing empathy and is rather unreadable. They like to watch, observe, and analyze more so than taking action. Ghost Hound is hardly judgmental. What other cats do and how they act is none of her business. But others often mistake their body language as off-putting. And right alongside Ghost Hound is the medicine cat apprentice. Rosepaw is a short-furred tortoiseshell she-cat with green eyes. Rosepaw was born with the name Rose as a single kit, no brothers or sisters. Her parents sort of raised her, but they weren't exactly nurturing. She was taught from a young age that kitty pets, for the most part, were not allowed to have families, and that their two legs will most likely send them away to a new home where they can have a new family. They knew she'd have to get adopted out eventually and tried desperately to not get attached. Rosepaw felt awfully lonely in her home and felt it would be even worse to go to a new home, so she decided it was best to leave. Her parents were distant and her owners only provided her with the bare essentials, food and shelter. She didn't have any friends to play with, nor anyone else that could keep her company. She would even watch a group of neighborhood kids play games with one another outside the windows, so she left her home in search of friendship. One group led to another, and another group led to another, and she was eventually spotted by a newly forming group of cats. Fighting was never really her thing, so she vowed to take on the role of medicine cat one day and learn to love every cat as if they were her family. Next, we'll be moving on to the warriors. Owldusk, previously just called Owl, is a long-furred, diluted Torby she-cat with a white underbelly, paws, muzzle, and amber eyes. She was born in a hollowed-out tree on an abandoned farm. She was the biggest and heftiest in a litter of 3 with her sisters Dove and Magpie. The 3 grew up to be a tight-knit bunch, often playing pranks on older cats or roughhousing in the hay. Their parents would often indulge them in wild tales of cats that had lived deep in the foliage of the outside world. The kids were often amazed by the stories their parents would tell, especially Owl. She dreamed of one day meeting a wild cat and learning more about them. It was fun to imagine how these cats lived their lives. But as the seasons changed, so did their situation, and it was leaf fall when misfortune struck. A strong storm blew through the area, causing their barn to shake, part of it collapsing in the process. In the chaos, the small family was separated, and Owl was now stranded alone in the wild. Owl cried and searched for her parents desperately with no luck. As moons passed during their travels, Owl one day came across the clan and was taken in. She was utterly ecstatic, finding this new life exciting and fulfilling, and a rightful distraction from the loss of her family. As time went on, Owl flourished into a fierce and passionate warrior, finding peace in this life, eventually becoming Owldusk. But even now, she still hopes to reunite with her family once more. Iceclaw, previously called Icicle or Icy, is a short-furred white tom with brown tabby patches and pale blue eyes. Iceclaw is a former kitty pet who wandered a little too far from his 2-leg nest one day and got lost. The cozy indoor life never particularly sat right with him. Deep down, he felt a longing for adventure to dip his paws into danger, and after a while of long contemplation, he went out in search of a new group of cats to befriend. He wasn't well versed in the means of survival and ended up living in an abandoned badger's den. One day, a new group of cats stumbled across him and invited him to join their clan after talking to him for a little bit and getting to know him better. His goofy, caring, childlike personality makes the apprentices favor playing with him. They often come up with fun games, and he watches the camp while the mentors go out and do things. He spends most of his time with the apprentices, as he's always wanted kits but never met the right cat to start a family with. In Leaf Bear, he can often be found attempting to eat icicles, much like he used to do as a kitty pet, which gained him his name. Jagged Fang is a medium-furred, lilac, lynx point she-cat with several scars and bright green eyes. Jagged Fang, earlier known as Owl, was born as an only kid to her parents, Flake and Storm. She grew up learning to fight and defend herself as soon as she could stand steady enough to swipe a paw, as her parents knew the wilderness could be dangerous. After the loss of her parents due to the harsh, brutal reality of living alone in the wilderness, she grew up empty and cold, constantly in fight-or-flight mode. Her go-to method of survival was to challenge anything and everything in her way. Countless unfriendly encounters left her with several deep scars that are mostly hidden by her long fur. One of these fights even resulting in the loss of a tooth. She quickly learned that sometimes fighting her way out of situations was not the best answer. Taking it to heart, she switched tactics to be more civil with strangers, which is what eventually led her to meeting and joining the clan, where she was renamed Jagged Fang, a name she is proud to have. Her strong personality, prideful nature, and fighting skills make her an excellent warrior. Cinderspot is a dark gray spotted tabby she-cat with long fur and blue-green eyes. She was a kitty pet named Pepper who lived a lavish life and was very loud, obnoxious, and snobby to mask her insecurities. After being passed between houses, she ran away, giving up on 2 legs entirely. She ended up in an old abandoned house and decided to stay there with other rogues and loners. Her arrogant attitude eventually landed her in a good paw full of fights. This behavior didn't get any better until a friend of hers named Lakota changed her perspective on things and taught her how to be more respectful. This, however, gave Lakota power over her, as he was the only reason she had friends, and he knew he was changing her to fit his ideologies. After catching unreciprocated feelings for her friend and a harsh denial for affection, Pepper was left feeling betrayed and heartbroken, falling back into her old ways. This resulted in continuous bullying until she had enough. Lakota left the house and so did she. After moons of aimlessly taking on mates only to find out they wanted kits, she fled from each one. Finally, one day when she was wandering, she came upon a group of cats and saw this as her first chance at a fresh new start. Pebblestream is a medium-furred silver-spotted she-cat with bright green eyes. Pebblestream was born as Pebble to a pair of loners alongside her sister, Stream. Both of her parents claimed to be descended from some type of clan, but Pebble grew up thinking that this was just something they said to entertain their kids. Pebble and Stream were inseparable and always wound up in trouble together, with Pebble taking the blame most of the time. She was super chatty and never gave a moment of quiet, and in turn she could talk her way out of getting in trouble. Luckily enough, they were never harmed despite their insanely wild tactics. This luck unfortunately ran out one day during a snowstorm. In an attempt to gather herbs for their ill parents, the two got caught in a blinding snowstorm. The winds were horribly strong and neither cat could see more than a tail length in front of them. Stream offered the idea of finding shelter and waiting out the storm, but out of worry for their elderly parents, pressed forward without hesitation. In a tragic flash, Stream was hit by a monster. They didn't even notice that they had wandered onto a thunderpath. Pebble was devastated and dragged her lifeless sibling to a nearby cave and defeatedly waited out the storm. She would continue to mourn her sister's passing for moons on end, nearly until the end of Leaf Bear. She believed it was her own wrongdoing. The harshness of Leaf Bear worked it on her parents, resulting in their passing, and a few moons later, she then set out in hopes to honor them and her sister, and upon joining CreationClan, took on the name Pebble Stream as a final memorial. Koi Spring, previously just called Koi, is a long-furred calico she-cat with amber eyes. Koi wasn't raised by her birth parents. Instead, she was brought up by an older kitty pet that never revealed her true name. Koi simply knew her as Mother. In every aspect, the she-cat was the motherly figure in her life, and Koi didn't even know the difference until many moons later down the road. She looked up to her for guidance. This she-cat was also the one who gave Koi her name, which she always loved dearly. When Koi questioned the meaning, the elderly cat smirked and gave a playful, vague explanation of, "It's just a fish." A time came when Mother never returned home, leaving Koi to have to wander out on her own. When clan life came around, Koi Spring would gain her suffix for her lively and uplifting personality. She never failed to put a smile on others' faces. She always had a spring in her step and hoped to spread that same energy to others. When talking to others in the clan about her past, Koi Spring would seem to shut down and change the topic. She never got closure as to what happened to Mother, but feels deep down that she may be out there somewhere. Wandering River, otherwise known as Wandering, is a large, medium-furred silver tom with a reddish-orange tail, cream-colored underbelly and tail tip, and deep blue eyes. He was originally born in the dark alleyways of a city to a litter of 4 siblings, one of which did not survive at birth. His mother had been city-born, and his father came from the farms, but was brought to the city by 2 legs. He was given his name after having wandered away from his mother when he was born. He would always slip out of her sight and would scare her half to death looking for him. He always had a longing for exploration and traveling to new places, something he was taught from an early age to fear. He had always been much larger than his siblings as well, having to grow up more gentle with his playmates. Wandering learned from early on just how strong he was. This taught him patience and compassion as well as self-awareness. This would be in his favor later on as he grew up into a strong-willed cat. Wandering eventually found that the city life did not suit him. He wanted to explore and find another land and new friends. His mother was immediately concerned for his safety, but admits he was too curious of what was out there, even as a kid. He swore to his mother that somehow he would take her with him on his journeys, even if it meant in spirit. Upon joining CreationClan, he became the father figure to most cats, especially the apprentices. He became the most caring Tom in the clan, who was always more than willing to take cats under his wing and guide them along their way. Don't worry guys, this isn't all of CreationClan. In part 2, I'll be going over the next few ranks of apprentices, queens, kits, and elders.